I'd get attached like that.
I'm still in do what I'm told. Please not tell people what to do.
Right, yeah. No, but I mean, like, I really, like, I let it go. I have to, like, let it go. It's like, all right. Just don't raise it. Just a little bit of the fee. You're broke. Right.
Well, I've heard he's one.
Well, you know, I was glad that I clicked it myself.
Oh, that she must have enough to see. Yeah, I know. When I was interviewing, we talked about the stories. I thought about music for a minute. I know he went to Penn State since I went to Michigan. Big State.
You're allowed to riff while people are coming. You're allowed to riff while people are coming. In other words, you can put get background music.
From a church, there's always the processional.
You're better off over here.
I just saw you standing outside talking to my spouse. I see that upstairs. He's talking to me.
Who has the most shalom?
And your spouse is here.
I haven't some additives.
I saw him organizing his book.
But I'm finding out about that.
It's not your fault.
I don't know what happened, but it's not your problem. I don't bring any ownership.
Good.
Hold on. I paid for it. It's really great. Thank you. So I spent $2
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to get started.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi, and everyone else in the room.
We are on page 128 this evening to begin Shabbat HaMakkah, the Sabbath Queen.
Oh, the
Shamor v'zachor. We observe and we remember. We welcome Shabbat with 2 candles, one to remember Shabbat and one to make it holy through our observance. Zachor, we remember. After the Jewish people's original journey as refugees, when we fled our biblical oppressors in Egypt, we were given the gift of Shabbat rest. Today we remember Shabbat by linking ourselves to those who came before us, a people who, time and again, were forced to leave home in order to practice Judaism open and free. As we remember our own ancestors' journeys, we think of the millions of refugees and asylum seekers around the world today, still fleeing violence and persecution because of who they are. Shamor, we observe. We observe Shabbat by creating sacred space in our homes, in our synagogues, in all the places that give us refuge. We hope that the lights we kindle over these holy hours will illumine a path to a world made whole once more, a world in which our rest on this day will inspire us to action on all the days that follow. We observe, we remember, and now inspired by our history and our faith, we will act. Together we will speak out against those who seek to close the doors of our country to refugees and asylum seekers. We will welcome newcomers to our communities, helping them to settle into new lives with ease. We will ground ourselves in our shared values, living them each and every day as we fight for justice for all. The flickering light of the Shabbat candles reminds us of the divine spark that is within each of us. All of us equally deserving of dignity and respect, no matter who we are, what we look like, what we believe, or where we call home. Shamor v'zachor, we observe and we remember. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Welcome to this sacred space in this holy time. I'm Rabbi Eric Malo. I'm joined by Cantor Farron Rudnick, Rabbi Jerry Newberg, our senior rabbi, and the lovely the interfaith choir, the mixed choir, which could be interfaith if they wanted to be. Welcome.
There's somebody new behind the piano.
Oh my gosh. Would you like to, how about you introduce our new wonderful person?
So we are pleased making his Shabbos debut, our new music director, Dr. Ari Sussman.
Yay! Blessed is your arrival into this sacred space. We are grateful. It's good to be together tonight. We enter this sacred time with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. And to lead us in the lighting of our Shabbat candles, we have a very special person going to invite up to lead us in candles and Kiddush. Caden Kaplan, come on up. It's his bar mitzvah tomorrow. He called to the Torah for the very first time. We're very excited for him to lead us this evening as well.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our days, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'ahavah Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who halos us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
That was slightly on purpose, I do believe. Yes, you're a perfect angel. Here you are. Okay. Do you want me to hold this?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, b'hava uvratzon hinhalanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom tehileh, ikmarei kodesh, zeher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki vanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
I look forward to more of that tomorrow morning. Tomorrow evening, thank you, Rabbi. That's right. 4:45, be there. From Simcha to Solemn. We have had a tradition in our community, a sacred tradition since October 7th, of lighting lights for each one of the remaining hostages in Gaza. And we continue this tradition tonight, lighting lights as a lamp to their feet. May each of them find the way home. We invite you now to come forward as a congregation and each take a light and kindle that light for the way home. Please join us.
As Rabbi Malo said, from simcha to sorrow and back to simcha, we turn in our prayer book to page 648 and pray these words to sing a new song. May a new day come tomorrow, a better day that brings our hostages home. Page 648. Page 138, 139, L'Charadi, we welcome the Sabbath theme bride. Spirit, one of those words.
Shabbat
page 146, and rise in body or spirit for Baruch Hu, our call to worship.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam Vaed.
I'm going to ask Ken Breyer to lead us in a special reading this evening for our Refugee Shabbat. He's doing double duty this evening, so it's going to take him a little bit.
That's the feeling of a refugee.
The love of the stranger who has entered beneath the wings of the divine presence is enjoined by two biblical commandments. One, because he is considered to be within the category of Re'im, a friend. And one, because he is a stranger, and the Torah states, and you shall love the stranger. The Holy One commanded that we should love the stranger, just as God commanded that we should love the divine, as it is written. And you shall love Adonai your God. The Holy One loves the stranger, as it is written, and God loves the stranger.
Page 150.
We'll join together in the chanting of Ve'ahavta, page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinamta levavecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'beitecha ובלכתך בדרך למשוך בך וקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Let's join together on page 155. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
Moses himself was a stranger, and despite this, or because of this, he went on to become a great leader and a prophet who communicated directly with God in the desert. This is a feat that is praised by the Midrash. Mishnat Rabbi Eliezer further links prophecy with the experience of the stranger. Cherished are strangers. All of the prophets referred to themselves as strangers. Abraham, stranger and citizen. Moses was a stranger. David said, I am a stranger in your midst, and also I am a stranger in your land. Do not hide your face. Our ancestors referred to themselves as strangers, so as to say, we are before you. If our ancestors referred to themselves as strangers, then there is an innate appreciation of the role of being an outsider in forging a prophetic connection with the divine. In this sense, there is a connection between the stranger and the giving of the Torah. But why does it have to be a stranger to receive the Torah? How can the idea of not having a home offer an opportunity for holiness and revelation to happen?
We continue on page 158 with Micha Mocha, the Song of the Sea.
Oh
Adonai Va'al Yisrael.
On page 160, we continue with our prayer for protection and shelter from life's storms. Ashkivenu. We take a moment now to think of all of those in our community in need of healing. Healing of body, healing of spirit, and healing of mind. In our community, we pray for the speedy healing and comfort of David ben Meir Ubatya, Rachel Chana bat Rivka, Yaakov ben Tova, Stephen Bolden, Ellen Brodkin, Bernie Bronstein, Nate Sugarman, Mel Claver, Peg Collins, Gloris Danus, Barry Fireman, Marvin Garber, Alexander Gendler, S. Warren Gross, Perry Goldlust, Ethel Greenberg, Mark Halpern, Eileen King, Merwin Landay, Merle McAllister, Bonnie McKenna, Fred McKenna, David Meltzer, Rick Pirates, Terry Rivas, Bob Seeley, Nancy Seeley, Barry Sockel, Ian Spector, Shel Steinberg, Helen Subio, Brenda Weiss, and Luca Zachman. We join together in our Mishaberach prayer for healing, page 371.
We continue, oh, don't sit down, ladies and gents. We continue with Tefillah as we turn to pages 164 and following. Ask the congregation to please rise.
Adonai sifatai titachu fi agitehi latecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imatenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Rekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Lemad Shemo ve'Ahava, Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashen, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Tzomech noflim lerofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Nichamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahallelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. And we continue together on page 173. Disturb us, Adonai. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Let's continue together. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. And together at the top of 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha U'Lacha Na'el Lahodot. We turn the page, 178, for Our eternal prayer for peace, Shalom Rav.
Take a moment now for personal prayers and private meditations.
Shabbat Shalom. As you heard from several of the beautiful additional readings we included in our service this evening, welcoming the stranger is something that is near and dear to us. But it is also because it is instructed to us in the Torah, and we are commanded, it is a mitzvah, to welcome the stranger. So it has been part and parcel of the Jewish experience for thousands of years. And it is something that our congregation has taken to heart for many decades. We haven't been around for thousands of years, but if we were, we would have been doing it for thousands of years. So we are really grateful for those people who came before us, who set the stage for us in this really critical time to think about what it means to welcome people from different places who are encountering incredible hardships. So it is our great fortune as we commemorate Refugee Shabbat this evening to welcome one of our fearless leaders in this work, Linda Brock, and who will provide the appropriate introduction to our guest speaker this evening, Catherine Miller-Wilson. So thank you, Linda, for joining us up here and for introducing Catherine.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And welcome to our friends at St. Mary's, St. Margaret's. I can't see my notes. And to Ferret Beth Israel. I'm very nervous. I don't usually speak in front of people.
You're with friends.
But when I was asked to introduce Catherine Miller-Wilson, I couldn't say no. But before I introduce her, I have a question. I've been to many immigration programs over the last 15 years, and I always wonder why someone doesn't ask. You can't hear me?
Linda, talk louder.
Okay, can you hear me now? You just moved away from me. Okay. Let's see if this one's a little louder. For a nervous person, you're making this worse.
Sorry, but I know they can't hear you, and then I'm going to get yelled at.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for letting me know. Is there anybody in this room that is 100% an American Indian? Please raise your hand. Okay, we're all came from families that were immigrants. And so that's why this is really such an important issue. So I see that, okay, so I just said that. Highest Pennsylvania, I'm going to really read this one. Highest Pennsylvania assists low-income immigrants that get through the maze of our immigration system. It was founded in 1882 to assist Jewish refugees fleeing the Tsar. Now, 143 years later, Highest Pennsylvania has the same mission, but a different clientele. Last year, we approximately had 6,400 clients that came from 138 different countries. Now I am pleased that I get to introduce Catherine Miller-Wilson, who has been the Executive Director of ISPA, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, since 2006. But 16. That's not what I was told. 2016. Okay.
Still in line.
She is, well, that's what Juan said. I just know. Most introductions seem to include details like she graduated from the University of Pennsylvania Law School in 1993. Is that right? That's and has spent her current career doing social justice work, representing parents accused of abuse and neglect at the Community Legal Services Incorporated, representing persons with HIV/AIDS in the AIDS Law Project of Pennsylvania, and teaching and supervising law students who represented persons in a variety of civil matters at Drexel University School of Law and Villanova University School of Law. Then there is a long, long list of her publications, which I'm not going to repeat except for one where she was the primary author of Pennsylvania's Stand Guardianship Act, which became law in December of 1998, and the list goes on and on and on. However, I say she is extraordinary. Just email her at 1 a.m. in the morning and get a response in a few minutes. Wow. Or, as a mere volunteer, ask her for a referral to the best person at the office to answer a question that one of your friends has about immigration. And lo and behold, in a few minutes, you have a complete answer from Catherine herself. Well, what I really want you to know is that she is dedicated, hardworking, kind-hearted, and someone that our country needs now more than ever. Remember I said she was extraordinary, so please welcome Catherine.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Rabbi Newberg. And thanks all of you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here because with so much going on, it's really critical that everybody understand what's going on, which it can be hard to do given the flow of information. I especially appreciated the passage from the prayer book tonight, which asked God to disturb us, shock us, and wake us up. Well, guess what? Our prayers were answered. We are totally disturbed, shocked, and woken up. Hopefully we're woken up. So what I'm going to share with you is fairly depressing, but I want to end with a call to action so that we don't all just go home and lie in our bed and put the covers over our head, which I'm tempted to do fairly often, like every hour. But I want to start with just a brief information about HSPA's story because it's fascinating and also kind of funny. And then I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on. And then I also wanted to tell you that I'm staying for the ONEG for questions because, you know, I'm just speaking for 10 minutes and there's actually about 90 minutes of stuff to say. So if you want to stick around, I'm happy to stick around and talk to you. So first, let's talk about HSPA. Like Linda said, we were founded in 1882 to rescue Jews from terrorist attacks in Eastern Russia. What I like to call, we were a case of great minds think alike, because in 1881, in New York City, a group of Jews got together to rescue Jews from terrorist attacks in Eastern Russia. Of course, it was pre-internet days, so we didn't know about each other. But ultimately, we did find out about one another. They grew up to be a national and international refugee agency known as HIAS. We, our founding year, took a bit of a left turn. We were founded to provide what today we would call settlement services, such as providing housing, English language lessons, and employment assistance. But the year that we were founded, the original public charge rule was introduced into Congress. It was the second anti-immigrant rule that was passed, ultimately. The first one was the Chinese Exclusion Act. The second one, our founder, Louis Levy, who was a Philadelphia lawyer, assured everyone who was formulating this new organization that that act was about keeping Jews out. Because it was an act that said, if we think that you're likely to use government assistance because you don't have sufficient income or assets, we're going to keep you out. And as Louis Levy said, who do you think are the poor immigrants that are coming in that don't have sufficient income or assets? They're Jews. So he rallied all the troops to try to protest the passage of the Public Charge Act. It failed. The act passed, and it still exists today. And so there started one of the initial problems of our immigration system, which we all agree is messed up. So we took an immediate left turn and started advocating, because suddenly all the people that we were trying to help had trouble getting in. That continued as immigration got worse and worse and worse in terms of its laws, until the passage in 1924 of the National Origins Act, which slammed the door on Europeans and ultimately resulted in 6 million deaths. Highest Pennsylvania tried to navigate the National Origins Act and bring petitions on behalf of as many Jews as they could to get them out of Nazi Germany. They were successful in bringing a lot of people over, but again, as we know, they were sadly not successful in this case of the 6 million that died. That act also was passed 6 years before the Great Depression. And that's important. There were many causes to the Great Depression, and one of those causes was slamming the door on immigrants. Immigrants and their fate are deeply intertwined with the American economy. That has always been true. That continues to be true. There are tons and tons of studies and data that prove that, and that's true whether immigrants are what today we would call undocumented or documented. And there are a lot of reasons for that, and so I will take this moment to share my prop, which I will share with you at the ONEG, but it's a very important book written by a Wharton professor called The Truth About Immigration. It contains everything you need to know about how integrally connected to our economy immigrants are. So remember that the 1924 act that slammed the door on immigrants. 6 years later, the Great Depression ensued. In 1965, because of what happened in World War II, the Geneva Convention was passed, and that created the international definition of refugee. I want to explain that to you because we're going to get to that later about why that's important. So a refugee is someone who is defined as being persecuted by their government for one of 5 reasons: politics, religion, nationality, ethnicity, or belonging to a social group, special social group. So the Geneva Convention established the international definition, but the United States had no structure for resettling refugees until 1980. So when the Vietnamese and the Cambodians came, they just came, and people like all of you, as well as agencies like mine, just helped. And it was a moment when we went from helping only Jews to everybody in the world. And the reason for that is because the federal government, if you can believe it, clearly a very different federal government than today, approached the national highest and said, you know, you do such a good job with the Jews, would you consider helping us with these 170,000 Vietnamese that we've displaced? It was obviously a pivotal moment in Hias's history, but of course, because of Welcome the Stranger, they agreed. Hias, Pennsylvania followed suit. And so since the 1970s, we have been serving everybody of all faiths and backgrounds. 1980, the Refugee Resettlement was passed, the Refugee Resettlement Act. It created the structure for refugee resettlement that existed as of January 20th. Today, it no longer exists. And that's the first thing I wanted to share with you. The structure that was created said that the State Department would contract with several national agencies. The national agencies would contract with affiliates on the ground to actually do the work of refugee resettlement. That work was defined by the federal government of 90 days of case management to get the kids enrolled in school, to teach the family English, to get them health care, to get them employed, to open bank accounts, and to get them integrated into American society. In accordance with the act, every single refugee resettlement agency has to give an exit survey on day 90 to determine whether that person is quote unquote self-sufficient. In other words, by day 90, are they earning enough to support themselves and their family? Highest Pennsylvania had an 85% success rate, as did most of the other resettlement agencies in the country. Despite months and months and months of campaigning against undocumented immigrants, the very first act that our president took on January 20th was to pause the refugee resettlement program. Refugees are documented. They're legal immigrants. They're given their status overseas, and they go through the most rigorous security vetting process in the world. It's a 10-step process. Each step along the way is time sensitive. If you should encounter some kind of trouble at step 4 and 5, and your earlier clearances expire, you have to go back to the beginning and start all over again. Most refugees require 6 years at least to go through that process before they're able to get from the camps to the United States. It is very common for a refugee to go through that process over a decade or more. On January 20th, the president entered an executive order saying, and I'm quoting now, "Because there isn't sufficient security vetting and we don't know who refugees are, we have to pause the program." It was a lie, and one of the first ones that were told after a series of lies. The next thing that happened was a stop work order on January 24th, telling our agency that we couldn't help even the refugees who were already here, even though we're supposed to provide them with 90 days of service. The executive order said, no more work because we're not going to pay you. Our agency spent our private funds so that we could continue to serve those refugees, because they're brand new to the country, they didn't speak any English, they have kids, they don't know how to navigate the system without the resettlement work that we do. So we had an emergency board meeting and agreed to dip into our private funds so that we can continue to serve those refugees. The National Highest and 3 other national agencies sued the government about closing the refugee program. They got a preliminary injunction telling them that yes, this program was created by Congress and so therefore couldn't be shut down by the president. The day after that preliminary order was entered, the State Department sent letters to all 10 national agencies terminating their contracts. There is currently no structure within the United States to resettle refugees. No refugees are coming in, and none will. So that's where we are. The next set of executive orders that you need to hear about are the ones that stopped our naturalization funding because, and I'm quoting from Department of Homeland Security Secretary Noem, there is a fear that that federal funding for naturalization could erroneously be used for undocumented immigrants. You have to be documented to be eligible for citizenship. You have to be documented for at least 6 years. It is nonsense. It is yet another lie. We sued. Highest Pennsylvania is one of 7 other plaintiffs. We sued on Monday. We'll see what happens with the lawsuit. Today we got a stop work order for representing unaccompanied minors. The reason that there's federal funding to represent unaccompanied minors is because Congress passed an anti-trafficking act many years ago that said we would provide representation to immigrant kids who were victims of trafficking and violence. There are more than 26,000 such victims in the United States, currently being represented by attorneys who, as of today, are no longer permitted or paid to represent these kids. Finally, I want to talk about Khalil Mahmoud and the 200,000 Venezuelans, because after this crescendo of terrible acts, these are the most lawless acts to date. And I don't use that term lightly. Regardless of politics, we live in a democracy. Mahmoud Khalil was protesting in Colombia about Palestinian involvement. He was a green card holder. He was detained and thrown into a jail in Louisiana and told that he could not have access to lawyers because they labeled him a terrorist. No evidence to date. He's now been in detention for at least 2 weeks. I probably have that wrong, it may be 3. There has been no evidence whatsoever that he is a terrorist. There has been no evidence provided that he has hurt Jews. What's more, there is no Jew who should feel safe by a government who picks up someone and labels them a terrorist without any evidence, and then threatens to strip them of their status. So that case is ongoing. It's been moved to New Jersey. Lawyers are advocating. We'll see what happens. But after Mahmoud Khalil came an Indian Georgetown law professor who was here on a visa to study, of all things, peace and justice. But the Indian law professor is married to a Palestinian American. The Palestinian American on social media had posted some supportive Palestinian comments. Her husband is now in a jail without access to attorneys and being threatened with being stripped of his visa and deported to India. Finally, 200 Venezuelans were rounded up, labeled as terrorists, put on a plane, and sent to El Salvador, where they are currently in prison. No evidence was presented to any court, lower or federal. No charges have been filed. It is the mere statement of our president that the Venezuelans are members of gangs, are terrorists, and therefore any judge that tries to stop him is somebody that cares more about criminals than the United States of America or Americans. That is outrageous. And everyone in this synagogue should be upset about that. The judge in that case ordered that the plane be turned around. The president publicly stated that he didn't have to follow the orders of a judge who would risk the safety of Americans, again repeating the lie that 200 Venezuelans who had done nothing but be Venezuelan be deported. The judge in that case then hauled in the president back to court to say, "How dare you disobey my order?" The president said, "How dare you, when there's 200 terrorists that I'm trying to protect the Americans from?" The judge said, "Where is your evidence that they're terrorists?" And the president said, "None of your business." The Supreme Court Justice, Jonathan Roberts, issued a declaration that what the president was doing was causing a constitutional crisis, and the president tweeted that "I don't have to listen to you because I'm trying to protect the American people." We are in a constitutional crisis. So we must speak out, all of us. So here's where we get to the good part. How can you help? Write to Congress every single day. I know that feels like a void, but we received a stop work order for our youth work about a month ago, so this isn't the first time. And we went to social media, so did everybody around the country. 15,000 letters were sent to Congress, and 48 hours later, the stop work order was rescinded. So it matters. When you notify Congress, it matters. The only issue is doing it in enough volume to get their attention. So it's really important that people write to Congress every single day and say, this is not legal. You cannot detain people because they are from a certain country, i.e. Venezuela. You cannot detain people because of their religion, i.e. Muslim. You cannot detain people for their political beliefs. Do you remember the definition for refugee? A government who persecutes you based on politics, religion, nationality, ethnicity, or belonging to a special social group. Well, our president just attacked 3 different people, 3 different groups of people for those very reasons. This is not tolerable, so write to Congress. And make no mistake, I know that there's all kinds of differences about how big or small the federal government should be. That's okay. Reasonable people can disagree about how much tax dollars should be spent for the safety net. That's okay. Reasonable people can also disagree about how many people should be permitted to enter the country and under what circumstances. It is not reasonable to throw people out to dangerous countries without a trial, without due process, and based on made-up fictions about who they are. That is not reasonable and shouldn't be tolerated by anyone, whether you are a small government person, whether you are someone who thinks there should be fewer immigrants. It is not right. If we don't all united stand up against that, they're coming for you next, and me after that. So those are my remarks. I'm happy to answer questions at the ONEG. Thank you very much for listening. Sorry for all the anger.
Thank you so much, Catherine. We need to hear these difficult things, and we need to do the difficult work. So we will continue to tune in and do our part. We return to our service to page 586 as we rise for Elena.
עלינו לשבח אדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחת אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהן, וגור עלינו ככל המונה, ואנחנו גורים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. On this Shabbat, as we prepare to recite the Mourner's Kaddish, we think of those for whom we are in the most recent period of mourning, Shloshim, remembering with love Barry Siegel, Stephen Blyer, Ronald Fink, Larry Notice, Arnold Pusar, Arden Bell, and Donald Cooper Smith. And we remember our loved ones who died at this season in years past, as we remember Bernice Abrams, Max Abramson, Joseph Ash, Barbara Berger, Jerome Gerson Blank, Joseph Mario Cataldi, Ben Cohen, Leon Cohen, Marvin Cohn, Philomena Z. Contino, Rachel Dubiecki, Joseph Epstein, Joseph Glass, Jack A. Glussman, Jenny Goetz, Marjorie Pomerantz Goldberg, Florence M. Goodman, Hyman Samuel Goodwin, Eleanor Greitzer, Nathan Hoffman. We remember Aaron Hoffman, Helen Howard, Pauline Kaplan, Judy Katz, Edith M. Cohn, Paul Crichton, Ben Lappinson, Ethel S. Laventon, Sidney Levine, Bernard Buddy Lewis, Randy Lichterman, Miriam Markowitz, Maurice Morris, Rose Ressner, Herman Roseberg, Norman Ronberg. Remember Dora Rosner, Helen Rubin, Albert A. San, Joanne Schlanger, Richard David Shapiro, Minnie Helen Shear, Mary Silverberg, Sidney Snyder, Leonard Steinberg, Joseph Sternberg, Andrew Tabus, Harris Treeman, John Suderos, William Weinberg, Sarah R. Weiss, Mel Wolfe, and Zolkman. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be an eternal blessing as we join together in the recitation of the Mourner's Kaddish found on page 598. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'imru. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemed kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tishvachata v'nechemata, damiran v'alma v'imru. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the holy, blessed one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world. And together we say, Amen. You may be seated, except for the lovely and bundled up Helene Ehrlich Cohen.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And thank you to Rabbi Newberg, to Rabbi Around here somewhere, Cantor Rudnick, our mixed choir, and welcome to Ari Sussman. Should it be Dr. Ari Sussman? For leading us tonight in this beautiful service. Thank you also to Catherine Miller-Wilson for being with us tonight and sharing a vision of the important work being done and how we can help. Much appreciated. I want to call your attention to some very exciting upcoming programs and special events. Join Rabbi Newberg at 9 a.m. tomorrow for Torah study, followed by our Shabbat morning service. Both Torah study and services will be in person and on Zoom. Join Rabbi Newberg for lunch with the rabbi on Monday, March 24th at noon, either in person or on Zoom. Our Israel meeting will meet on Zoom this Monday night at 7 o'clock, followed by Rabbi Newberg's Keeping It Real movie discussion at 8 o'clock. Watch Parasite on Netflix and join the Zoom and join what I think will be a riveting conversation. It's a great movie. The Sisterhood Bargain Boutique returns on March 30th and 31st. Collection begins this Sunday. Start organizing your jewelry, accessories, and clothes. Our Passover food drive will begin on Tuesday, April 1st through April the 12th. Collection will be in our MLRT vestibule. Tickets are on sale for our next mainline series with Adam Grant. Join us on Wednesday, April 2nd at 7 o'clock as organizational psychologist Adam Grant rethinks how people lead, work, and live. Join MLRT clergy for a participatory and engaging second night Seder celebrating our freedom from slavery on Sunday, April 13th at 5:30. The catered dinner will be family style and included everything you need for the Seder. Registration is now open.
Our community Holocaust Remembrance Program will be Thursday, April 24th at 7 o'clock. Our guest speaker will be Dr. Asaf Romarowski, Executive Director of the Association for the Study of the Middle East and Africa. As you may be aware, the polls are now open for the World Zionist Congregation elections. We are actively supporting the efforts of the Reform movement by encouraging you to vote now for the Vote Reform slate, line 3 on the ballot. Your vote is critical to a democratic Israel where Reform Jews will be safe to practice Judaism. Voting is easy and quick. Information is available on the front table. If you have any questions, ask Cheryl Neff, who's here this evening, or any member of our senior clergy or staff. Vote now, vote reform. We cannot forget, it's Caden's bar mitzvah tomorrow. So we wish you all a hearty mazel tov. I know it's going to be a fun night. And you will find complete information about our upcoming programs in the bulletin, e-news, and on our website. Wishing everyone a peaceful and happy week. And it's almost opening day. Shabbat shalom.
Well, we did get the first day of spring in. Our closing song, hopefully you saw it on the way in. There is a handout, America the Beautiful, that is beautifully interwoven with another prayer for peace, O say shalom. If you need it, let me know. We can get you some copies. And then, of course, please join us at the Oneg, certainly to speak with Catherine, but also because many thanks to Linda and to Rabbi Malo for putting together an incredible Oneg of desserts from around the world. So definitely don't want to miss that.